Fox Alistair and Emerald Sustrai, two characters who are definitely quick on their feet. More speed fighters rather than overall powerhouses or defensive tanks, but definitely ones who can hold their own in a fight. So let's see how they'd fare against one another in the next exhibition match of the Phoenix Festival Tournament. We're using Amity Coliseum as the stage. These two are going to fight 1v1 to a full or a break with no ring outs. I'll do my best to analyze their weapons, their semblances, and their fighting styles and determine who I think would end up winning. But overall, it will be determined by all of you in the comments below who comes out on top. Make sure you comment who you think would win and give a brief explanation as to why. Weapon advantage, semblance advantage, etc. Or be as detailed as you like, going in depth into the characters. But before we get into today's match, let's go over last week's between Yatsuhashi Daichi and Hazel Reinhardt. Yatsuhashi being one of, if not the strongest character we have seen in the entire RWBY series, able to, with his strength alone, shatter entire biomes, a feat only comparable so far by Yang or Nora, powered up fully by their semblances, or at least as much as we've seen them so far. But even then, when Yang shattered the ground at the end of Volume 7, that was a ground that had already been broken by slamming Vine's body into it, so not exactly sure if that's 100% comparable, but Yatsuhashi can do that with base strength alone. Not to mention he has Fulcrum, making him hit a lot harder, so Yatsuhashi is still incredibly strong. And then Hazel Reinhardt being the biggest defensive tank that we have seen, able to fight multiple opponents and just block their weapons, their bladed weapons, with his bare hands. Now, I said that this fight would be pretty close, 50-50, but Yatsuhashi would have the advantage if he used his semblance, able to wipe memories and be able to get a clean, strong hit on Hazel. And in the comments below, a lot of people were divided as well. People saying Yatsu would win, people saying Hazel would win, and on a side note, some people were getting very nasty with their comments, outright attacking people for choosing someone that they didn't think would win. And that is not okay, not something that I want my channel to stand for or I want in my community around the channel. So be nice to other people. If they have a different opinion than yours, of course, make a counter argument, but, be nice about it. Offer, points from the series, counter arguments, not just blatantly attacking the people or calling them names or anything like that. Don't do any of that. It's not worth it, and it honestly makes you look like a fool. But between this is going to be the fight that I'm honestly going to call a draw out of any of them because the comments were pretty divided. Though I do want to say one thing when it comes to power scaling in the RWBY series. If one character, in this case Mercury, is able to beat Yatsuhashi and Hazel is able to beat Mercury, that does not inherently mean that Hazel would immediately end up beating Yatsuhashi. Power scaling doesn't work like that. It's not just sheer strength. Yatsuhashi is definitely physically stronger than Mercury. It's just Cinder rigged the entire matches to have Mercury and Emerald fight Yatsuhashi and Coco because they suffered when it came to speed. Mercury being a lot faster than both of them, Coco with her weapon not really the fastest fighter and a Gatling gun, and Yatsuhashi being the strong arm of the group, again, not speed being his strong suit, Mercury was able to overtake both of them fairly easily. It still took multiple hits for Mercury to take down Yatsuhashi, and if he didn't have his metal legs, Yatsuhashi would have crushed him, but just because Hazel can beat Mercury does not mean it'd be the same when Hazel came up against Yatsuhashi. So just something I want to put out there, that Yatsuhashi does have a chance against Hazel, as I said, if he uses his semblance. A couple other people were commenting that, well, this wouldn't be a serious enough situation for Yatsuhashi to use his semblance, and I completely agree with that. However, the entire tournament that we're setting up is having everyone use the abilities at their disposal, outside of magic. Because if we were taking it in a more realistic route, you're right, Yatsuhashi wouldn't use his semblance, but then Hazel probably wouldn't even be participating in this tournament in the first place. So given the entire scenario, Yatsuhashi would use his abilities, his semblance, and Fulcrum to its full extent, and since this is a tournament fighting to a full or a break, he does have the capabilities to win against Hazel if given the right opportunities. Again, it's by no means going to be easy, but Yatsu would be able to, or would have the capabilities to break Hazel's aura. Now, if this was a fight to the death, Hazel's regeneration would play much more of a role, because even if Yatsu was able to break Hazel's aura, it would be regenerated to the point where Yatsu couldn't actually deal a decisive blow. He would need other people fighting alongside him. So if it was a fight to the death, completely different, I'd give it to Hazel, but since it's a fight to a full aura break, my personal opinion is Yatsuhashi, but overall it's 50-50, so it would be considered a draw. But enough on this fight. That was last week's fight. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about my decision and if you have anything else to add. But let's get into today's fight between Fox Alistair and Emerald Sustrai. Starting with Fox, who is essentially the Daredevil of the RWBY universe, or Toph Beifong if you've watched Avatar: The Last Airbender. Because Fox is completely blind and has been since birth, but he has found other ways to make himself able to fight and hold his own in battle against both other huntsmen and Grimm. This mostly in part due to his semblance of telepathy. He can, of course, communicate with the minds of people, his teammates and people around him, and can send his thoughts to other people's minds, and I don't really think they have a choice in the matter. Whether they can mentally block him or otherwise is really unknown, but he can definitely surprise some people by sending his thoughts directly to them, and would give him an opportunity in battle if he so chose. But more than that, his telepathy allows him to sense the minds of those around him, and he can see where they are, not only in his head, but in the physical space around him. So he can locate any opponent that's nearby, as well as Grimm, because he can sense the emptiness or lack of thought in them. So great versatility with his semblance, but that's not the only thing that he uses to see. He also has an accessibility dialogue assistant, or ADA for short, and that's what I'm going to refer to it as for the rest of this video. As saying the entire name, I'm gonna get tongue-tied. But ADA is an Atlas technology device that connects to his scroll and an earpiece that he wears that tells him about his surroundings as well. It scans the area for opponents and analyzes their weapons, updating him as their opponents are doing things, whether it has ranged capabilities, whether it's bladed, whether it's a mace or a chain mace such as Bertilac used in After the Fall. A very useful assistant and something that Fox can use to get info on his surroundings. He, of course, doesn't use it all the time. He uses information that's relayed to him by his teammates, the rest of Team Coffee, but in this case, since he's fighting 1v1, he'll definitely be using it to his advantage. So Fox can definitely see the world around him and sense possibly better than other people in certain cases, depending on how things work out, and then he can attack his opponents with his weapons. Bladed tonfas that have an absolutely badass name. Also, Emerald's weapons names are pretty interesting as well, but Fox's weapons, the bladed tonfas, are called Sharp Retribution, which is just probably one of my favorite names of weapons in the entire RWBY series. But these are bladed tonfas that have guns in them that he can fire forwards, but also have a swivel function so he can swivel the blades forwards and do a lot of piercing damage as well. They are strong enough to cut through the skin of a King Taijitu, and the bullets are strong enough to pierce through that as well. That happened in After the Fall, and Fox is definitely a very capable fighter. We saw in the episode Breach in Volume 2, when Team Coffee first displayed some of their abilities, Fox was able to slash quite a few times at an Ursai before actually using his aura and sending it backwards with a shockwave, causing it to explode and sending spikes everywhere. So not only is Fox able to deal a lot of quick hits with his weapons, he's also a master of aura. Of course, using his semblance of telepathy to sense the world around him, sense the minds of others, but also sending an aura shockwave. I made a video about Masters of Aura and neglected to mention Fox because I want to make a specific video about him, though I probably should have mentioned him in that video, but still, he in of himself is a master of aura. But then we get to Emerald Sustrai, who's not slacking when it comes to combat either. She's been shown to be very quick in battle. Actually, in the same episode Breach, where the Grimm invaded the city, Cinder, Emerald, and Mercury walked up to kind of mask that they were on the side of the Grimm attacking, but Emerald was able to take down multiple Grimm with her weapons. Thief's Respite, which are pistols with kusarigama, which I'm probably going to end up calling scythes throughout this video because it's a little bit easier to pronounce than kusarigama. But not only that, the blades can also extend on chains, so she can fling the blades out as ranged, but when it comes to ranged, Emerald's pistols are actually pretty strong. We saw in the episode Breach that she was able to one-shot certain Grimm with a single bullet from this gun. I would argue just as strong as Fox's Sharp Retribution is when it comes to ranged combat. The advantage, though, is Emerald can shoot an opponent that she can see. Fox, although he can sense where Emerald will be and shoot at her, when it comes to dodging bullets, he's not as great at it because he would have to rely on Ada to tell him when a bullet's coming, when the opponent's firing at him, so that would put Fox at a little bit of a disadvantage. Now, Emerald is very agile. I would say more agile than Fox in just a regular city setting when there's no interference from the environment. Fox is very good at moving in the desert, something that he would definitely have an advantage over Emerald, but in just the regular Amity Coliseum, I'd say when it comes to mobility, Emerald would probably have the advantage. Then we get to Emerald's semblance of hallucinations. She can make an opponent, or anyone she chooses really, see an image of anything that Emerald desires. Guessing as long as Emerald has seen it at some point in the past, it wouldn't really make sense that she can completely imagine up other things that someone could see, but maybe she could make them see just pink fluffy unicorns everywhere. Not really sure, but hey, you never know. Anyways, even with that being the case, Emerald has the ability to distort and make these images larger than life, as we saw with Salem at the end of Volume 5. But if it was just the ability to mess with a person's sight, then that wouldn't really be that effective against Fox. He's blind, he can't see already, not really much of an effect. But Emerald's hallucinations don't just mess with the sense of sight, they also mess with the sense of hearing. Remember back in Volume 3, Yang versus Mercury. Yang heard Mercury say, "Not so fast, Blondie," as the image of Mercury was about to attack Yang, and then Yang shot him in the leg. Well, none of that actually happened. Yang heard that, something that Mercury never said. Emerald has the ability to mess with sight and hearing, which the hearing aspect definitely could play a role to mess with Fox's head. So, overall, how do I think this fight would go? Well, Fox and Emerald, they've never actually seen each other fight, I don't think, outside of Breach and also during the Vital Festival tournament that took place, but I don't think either are aware of each other's semblances. Emerald might have read Fox's profile on Cinder's scroll, but Team Coffee was pretty secretive about what their semblances and abilities are, even while at Beacon Academy, have continued to do so at Shade Academy, so I don't think either would know what their opponent's semblances are, giving them both an element of surprise. And also a little bit of hesitation when it comes to rushing into combat against their opponents. So both would probably start off with a couple ranged attacks. Fox is more skilled at close combat, but rushing into battle, not knowing all of your opponent's skills, probably something he'd be a bit cautious about. Realizing quickly, though, that Emerald could fire a quick barrage of bullets using her pistols, he would probably decide that he has to get into close range, as he would lose in a ranged battle. Since the Ada technology that Fox uses communicates with him through low tones and buzzing to tell Fox what direction things are coming from, I don't think it would be that great at keeping up with an entire barrage of bullets. I think Fox would end up taking a couple hits here and there and not being able to fire back as much as he would like to, so he would have to get in close range regardless of the risks that might be involved with that. So he can point his Tonfa blades backwards and fire a shot to launch himself forward, similar to Yang's, so I guess that would mean that Fox's shots are more powerful than Emerald's, but Emerald, having her sight, would be able to dodge Fox's bullets a lot easier than Fox could dodge Emerald's bullets. So Fox would still have to get in close range where he's more comfortable, but getting into closer range to Emerald means that he's now in range of the chain blades of her Kusarigama, meaning that that's what he would have to deal with now. And I think that would be easier for him to deal with rather than dealing with a barrage of bullets, as Fox can use his hearings to hear the chains and hear the environment around him. He did that in the After the Fall book, where he was listening to the movement of his opponent's weapons and armor, and even the sand that his opponent was standing on. going full Daredevil with that. So Fox would be able to deal with that better, and hopefully, or at least he would try to avoid getting snared by the chains and the blades and having damage dealt to him that way, or just being tossed across the stage. So I think he would be able to get in close combat, but before he could deal any serious damage, he might be able to get in a couple hits here or there. Emerald would realize about Fox that he's using this assistant technology, as well as the fact that he is blind. Because remember, Emerald is a thief. She's very good at picking up small details about the world and environment and people around her. So I think she would be able to pick up on this pretty easily. Not to mention it might be listed in Fox's profile, if Emerald read this, that, you know, he is in fact blind. So with that being the case, Emerald would use her semblance of hallucinations and mess with Fox's hearing. That would greatly throw him off. Fox would still be able to see where Emerald is, but the sounds around him would mask the sounds of her weapons. And due to that fact, I think Fox would eventually lose in just a straight-up match in Amity Arena with no biomes in play. With no environment that he can use to his own advantage, he would just be at a disadvantage due to Emerald being able to see everything around him. Fox could use his semblance to throw Emerald off her game and deal a couple quick hits, but it would all come down to whose aura is stronger. And if they have equal aura, I think Emerald would be able to wear Fox's aura down a bit quicker. Now, if this was in any other biome, especially the desert biome where Fox is at home, he's a native of Vacuo, he would have a lot better of a chance, and I think would have the advantage in that fight. You know, the home field advantage. Similarly with other biomes, I think Fox is just better at moving around in places that other people might have more difficulty. He's better at adapting to different environments, so I think if biomes were in play, Fox would have the advantage overall. If it was the urban biome, I think it would kind of maybe go the same as here, though Fox could use the environment to his advantage, Ada helping him have places to hide, but I don't know if that would necessarily give him an advantage over Emerald. So overall, I would say Emerald wins if there is no biomes in play, but if there are biomes in play, Fox would have the advantage if he's able to lure Emerald into them. Emerald could just stay put, cause other hallucinations to mess with Fox, and we're going to assume that they're going to not just go into a stalemate and that they're going to end up fighting, so I'll say Fox has the advantage given biomes in play, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Who would end up winning this fight? Why do you think that? Semblance advantage, weapon advantage, overall fighting style, or the disadvantage that Fox has, having to rely on his hearing and assistant technology to be able to see his semblance, etc., or that Emerald just wouldn't be able to keep up with Fox's blades, etc. Many different reasons that could play a factor here, so I'm curious to know your thoughts. Now, for the next exhibition match of the Phoenix Festival Tournament, we are going to have someone from a previous fight return. We are going to have Tyrion Callows versus a character that we have yet to see in the tournament. It's going to be Tyrion versus Talk, the one who has the invincible aura and the one who has the ability to cut through it. I think this is going to be another interesting fight. How about all of you guys? Let me know what your thoughts are on this fight and the one, Yatsuhashi versus Hazel. My thoughts on that one. If you have anything else to add, I would love to hear your thoughts. Again, be kind to each other in the comments below. Hopefully you guys enjoy these style of videos and the other theories that I put out. If you do, make sure to subscribe, join the Guild of the Eternal Flame, tweet me at PhoenixKnight7, and I'll see you guys in the next video.